Hey, welcome back guys. Special video for you today. I keep seeing this shot come up in matches where I feel like some of my teammates are playing it the wrong way. I'm going to show you how I play it, and we're going to look at the concept of when you get thin on a ball, whether you try and hold it or you send it, okay? First, let's take a look at the two shots that I'm talking about. One of them was Alex's shot against a match against Morgan, and another one was Mike's shot when he was playing my boy Sean. Take a look at these shots and comment below how you would shoot them and what they could have done better. Now, I think we can agree, I think they both could have gotten better shape than where they ended up. Did they end up getting out anyway and getting a little lucky? You'll have to check the matches yourself, guys. For those of you new to my channel, this is what we do here. I film our APA matches, and then afterwards I add my commentary and I draw lines on the table in different patterns, little patches on the table as to what they could have been doing or what they're trying to do, and see if they can get better and see if we can learn something from it. Also, my matches are on here where I try and explain the decisions I made and why, and I ask you guys to drop in your comments and tell me how I should have done it. Now let's get back to the concept here. Both of these guys were extremely sharp cuts on these balls. Both really good shots, I want to say. I recreated both of them, but first, let's take a look at the concept itself as to whether or not you should try and hold a ball or you gotta send it. Let's go. All right, guys, so here's the setup. Your solids, you got one ball to shape to get to the 8 ball. Now, what the cue ball is going to move up the table and make this angle more sharp and more sharp. Now, I have the position here you want to get on the 8 ball in green, as you can see. That's about a position where I consider you're doing pretty good. You have a pretty good chance of making the 8 ball. I'm not saying you can't make it out of that position, but we want to get good position, man, especially if there's money on the light, you know what I mean? Now this first ball, we're gonna do it with the cue ball in the lowest position, pretty much a straight-in shot. Let's watch this, pretty straightforward here. I'm always gonna be hitting this with center ball, apart from that ball right there. I don't know why I stunned that ball. Doesn't matter, no matter what, all of you guys are gonna get shape and run this out. Let's go to the next one. We're gonna keep doing this until we get to a point where we feel like we can't hold it there anymore. Now I've got the tangent line here, I'll pause it here. I got the tangent line here to show you where the cue ball is gonna start to run, okay? Let's take a look at the shot. Starts to run. I could have hit it softer for sure, but we're still in a good position here. Still in that patch here. I think most of you guys would agree you're getting out on this ball unless you're me. Let's take a look at shot number 3. Now it's starting to get sharper and sharper, so now we really got to hold it with speed. Now I told you I'm going to hit this with center ball for all of these. We're not getting into English. If you hang out till the end of the video, I will show you advanced shots and how you can do this with English. But for now, let's just try and hold it with center ball. Still staying in a good position here. We're close enough that a sharp cut like that's fine. Now the 4 ball. Do you think we're going to start to lose position yet? I'm going to start drawing the tangent line far up the table as to where it's going to go if you hit this hard. I'm going to try and hold it and not let it get that far. 4 ball, I feel like we were able to hold there. That's hitting it pretty soft. Starting to get a little out of position, as you can see. Still good. Now let's take it to the 5 ball. You think we're going to lose position yet? Would you still try and hold this ball? Comment down below which number of these balls do you stop trying to hold it. Again, there's the line sending it way up north. And look, I'm pretty far out of position. Now, I know a lot of you guys are saying, what's the problem, man? You can cut this 8 ball, right? That's not a hard 8 ball shot. But when the money's on the light, when you're hill, you do not want to be shooting this 8 ball. Let's see if I can get out of this. Okay, that wasn't acting. I was trying to make the shot, but it shows you that things can go awry. Now let's pause it here. Now, what I'm offering and what I'm suggesting, and one way to shoot this shot, is you know the cue ball is going to go down and you're going to lose it center table, if not further, with just a regular shot, regular speed. So what I suggest is to send it. Send it there and back. just hit it a little firmer, and it's gonna look at you just follow the line. It's gonna come right back into position for you. Let's take a look at that. And this is what I was starting to hint at both of their shots in that match. Let's see how we do here. That was pretty firm. And again, putting no spin on this. That was firm enough, I almost went back out of position. But this is much better than the shot I had before, and it's nothing fancy, man. Center ball, just hit it a little firmer. Now let's take a look at the next two balls here as we go. And now I'm gonna stop trying to hold it. I know from the last shot that trying to hold it was starting to be a losing game. And we'll continue hitting this back and forth. Looks like I might have put something a little weird on that. I might have accidentally put a little follow on it to get it to go out of line a little bit, but and based on that shot, you could argue that this might be flirting with a scratch. But if this is the last ball on the table and you're just gonna leave yourself really crappy, center table a little further, that's not much better, man. Give yourself a fighting chance, okay? 7-ball 2. Now, how hard you hit it, this is something you got to practice a little bit and know how hard you have to hit it. And my advice to all my players when I suggest a shot like this, come back and make sure you're making the ball, okay? When you start to set up something strange, make sure you're gonna make that ball. Now let's take that concept and look back at Alex's shot, and then we'll look at Mike's shot and see what we could have done better. All right, guys, now here's Alex's shot, and man, setting this back up, I gotta tell you, this is a hard shot, okay? I got it as accurate as I could. Now, here's what he did. And he flirted with a scratch too, but I actually got the scratch. So this is a really hard shot. I got it as accurate as I could. You guys try and set this up. And when you get down to the end of the table and see, even though it's a 7-foot table, that's real far and that's quite a cut. So kudos to him for even making this ball. But now that was what he did. Now let's take that same concept and send this thing. Just hit it a little firmer. Now this is so thin, you don't have to pound it nearly as hard as I was shooting, say, that 5-ball in the last one. And look, this isn't great, but give yourself a chance, you know? Especially a ball like this close to the rail, you would have a lot of trouble banking this. So give yourself at least a chance to try and get out instead of just rolling over and sending it down mid-table. Let's take a look at another one here. So in this case, when I show it this way, when you come back and forth and you're trying to get tight position on a ball, I showed this because this can often happen when you're doing this. When they're stuck to the rail like that, if you bump them, 9 times out of 10, all you're gonna get is better shape, okay? This happened to me recently on an 8-ball that I was shooting, and I bumped it and got perfectly straight in the corner, and I said, well, same thing, here's a 9-ball scenario, right? You could probably argue there's better safes to play, but if you don't know one, if you're gonna cut that 8-ball, at least give yourself a fighting chance. Try and get back. This is just working on, still on the concept of whether to hold it or send it. And there are some players, when you first start out, when you're cutting that ball, you really think that you can just hold it for the ball that's sitting down here. Definitely cannot hold it at all. You got to send it back and forth. Now here's an example of using some spin. I said I wasn't going to get too much into this, but here's a little bit more of an advanced shot. With spin, it only really takes effect if you're not used to using spin off the rail. So this, once it hits the rail, it straightens it out and keeps it on the good side of the 12, so you don't have to shape the short side. That's pretty good right there. Now, lastly, if you can bank, the bank is definitely an easy way to get shape. You're not moving the cue ball at all. When it's dead on like that, bingo. Just make sure you shape it. I don't always shape it. And I got a lot of outtakes on this shot, guys. That is a hard freaking shot, at least for me. You guys tell me what you think. And when you finish, make sure you do it with class like me. Let's take a look at Mike's shot now, real quick, and see what we could have done better. Now we're jumping into Mike's shot here. This one's a lot easier. The cue ball's a lot closer. I'm showing your position on where you want to be for this ball, and that's what Mike did. You know, he didn't end up in a good spot, and he had a ball actually in the way. So let's start off plain and simple. Just hit this thing a little harder. Give yourself a chance. Send it. And again, it's so thin, you don't have to pound it. That one, a little dangerous. But I think the pros outweigh the cons on this as far as a possibility of a scratch. Obviously, if you have other balls to shoot, if you get to that spot, just don't try and shape this ball. Go for something else. Now here's another example. I'm going to pause this really quick with spin. You'll see here, back to getting back to spin. I said I wasn't going to get into this too much, but if you're new to using spin and you're not sure why people use left and right spin, in this case, I'm going to use right spin, and it only takes effect when it hits the rail. You see where it hits the rail and the line turns brown? That's how I do it in my matches as well when I'm showing use of spin off the rail. I've had a couple people ask about talking more about English, when to use it, why to use it, and what it does. Plain and simple, it changes the tangent line off of the rail. It'll open it up. So when you use right spin in this case, my right hand from Dingus on the table, they're shooting, not our position right now. From there, right hand spin, just like on the cue ball. It'll open it up from there. This is called outside spin because you're cutting away from you're putting spin on it away from the pocket. Left would be inside in this case. So at first you'll see it'll just hit that long rail, and that might not be super advantageous to you right off the bat. But as you get used to where the cue ball goes and how it functions, you'll start to see three rail position a little bit easier. And in this case, if we extend it, you'll see that from that position, it'll open it up and kind of make it go around the table like a diamond, like a, I don't know, three rail shape. And that'll make it so you're not aiming directly at the pocket when you go up and back just by sending it. So this is just another way to get back to this ball. Let's see if it works out. I'd say that's pretty good. Also would have given him a chance at the way out, man. And also, of course, same situation. Both of these ended up being, when the cut's that thin, that means the bank's usually pretty on. And it was. This one I had to cut a little bit, and as you can see, I got my favorite shape on the 7-ball. So if you're gonna take the bank, just make sure you're controlling whitey. You do stay on this end of the table, you don't send it, but you could end up stupid like me. All right, guys, I did promise you a little bit more of an advanced shot. In this case, we're going to talk about how spin can help you through these situations. Everything I was doing before in the initial drill, in the initial setup, was using center ball. So we're coming back to that setup. Here's your 8-ball position that you want, again, in green. We're shooting from the 4 spot in that 7. Those were pretty much just random on the table. There's nothing specific about where I started that line. I just wanted to make sure we crossed the line of whether to hold it or send it. So we've got the 4-ball position here. Now the 4-ball is right where it started to get a little dicey, and we see the tangent line is going to send it back to middle table. You got to hit this really soft, is how I did it last time. Now what you can do though, if you see the white tangent line going straight down, we talked about spin. If you put a little bit of spin on it to open it up a little bit, you can change that line and point it back towards the position, the good position for the 8-ball, into this nice big green pocket. We see that with the brown line. Again, when you're watching my matches, anytime I use a brown line, I usually put an arrow on the rail as to why it's doing what it's doing. In this case, when it's a tiny position, you want to really open it up as much as possible. Hitting low on the cue ball does help open that up more. I'm not going to get into specifics as to how that works, but that's not really the point of this. The point is just that the spin helps open things up. Let's take a look and see what I mean here. So still have to hit this pretty soft, but look how much it opens it up for the 8-ball. Now that worked for the 4-ball, we're going to run through and do the 5, 6, and the 7 here on my way out. I hope you guys liked this concept. Tell me what you guys think. Do you like to send it when it comes down to these positions, or are you more of just someone who's going to bank it out? I can tell you, trying to hold it can get really dicey. And I think both of these guys could have benefited from just hitting that a little firmer. You don't always know what's going to happen, especially at that level. But what you do know is going to happen is if you hit it soft, you leave it bad. So that's all I wanted to get back to, is to keep that concept in mind. If you haven't checked out any of my other stuff, check it out. If you're new here, think about subscribing. And to all you guys that watch this stuff all the time, thanks for being there. Keep shooting, guys.